Grammy Award-winning violinist Joshua Bell returns to the San Francisco Symphony. Experience the power, precision, and passion of one of the world's great violinists. Hear Joshua Bell in Brahms' famed Violin Concerto with the Academy of St. Martin in the Fields. That's Joshua Bell, March 1st at the San Francisco Symphony. Tickets at sfsymphony.org.
Welcome to the Going to Killing City podcast, a historical look at murder in Kansas City. Here are your hosts, Jamie Green and Alex Greenwood.
Welcome back, everyone, to our second half of our special Halloween episode. Again, the construct of this podcast is we are a historic Kansas City murder podcast, but we don't talk about just regular murders. We talk about weird, strange, wacky murders with twists and turns. And so this is our special Halloween episode. So the folks who showed up here got to hear it all in one sitting.
Yeah, that's what happens when you show up.
Or two drinkings, whatever we want to say.
Don't miss staff meetings. You get to see it all.
That's exactly right. Day drinking, always a good idea.
Day drinking.
So let's get back to the story. So let's start with a guy named Larry Freeman.
Hello, Larry.
Hello, Larry. Okay, Larry was a tenant at the Hotel Savoy in 1990. His apartment was room 505, take a note of that, which had been recently renovated. Larry's first unsettling experience was when he got out of the shower, which was added sometimes later to that room. Remember, they only originally came with a clawfoot tub, right? Yeah.
You know, as an aside, particularly after I turned 50, when I get out of the shower, it's always a harrowing experience. I'm just saying, that somebody please fog up that mirror more. Is all
right.
Sorry, I had to.
Your poor wife. Your poor wife.
Well, that's no. We're
talk about spooky, scary. Right. All right.
I'm telling you. Oh, scary kids.
All right. So Larry, having a scary experience apparently, brushing his teeth when he heard the water turn back on the shower. He turned to look and saw the shower curtain had just opened and was again closed. And the exact same thing happened to him the next 3 times that he showered.
Wow. That's
all right.
Good.
So Larry's next creepy experience was when he went to work while he was gone all day, his room is locked up, but someone turned on the radio. People walking down the hallway had the radio, but it wasn't the rock and roll. It wasn't Q102, KY or whatever. It was jazz station.
Really?
Yeah, and he had not been there when he left. There was no radio on, but people walking by, and when he got home, it was on jazz radio.
So we're talking like ghosts with good taste.
Yeah, old OG ghosts. So once again, a guy named Sean O'Byrne that I know, he told me this directly. This is the first part he told me about this. He actually used to manage the Hotel Savoy. He was not in room 505, so he did not have these experiences, but he is friends with Larry, and this is what Larry had happened to him. And the extra creepy, Larry would close a sliding oak door that separated his bedroom from the living room. One night around 11:30 p.m., Larry was laying in bed, half asleep, when he heard that oak door slide open, but there was nobody there. Upon further examination, Larry could see the exterior door was still locked.
Grammy Award-winning violinist Joshua Bell returns to the San Francisco Symphony. Experience the power, precision, and passion of one of the world's great violinists. Hear Joshua Bell in Brahms' famed Violin Concerto with the Academy of St. Martin in the Fields. That's Joshua Bell, March 1st at the San Francisco Symphony. Tickets at sfsymphony.org.
That would creep me the hell out. I don't know about you. Yeah. He's thinking, people.
I'm speechless.
He's speechless.
I'm a little terrified.
He's a little girl. Anyway. All right, so now I know personally somebody who knows Larry, okay? So I reached out to my friend who knows him, and I said, hey, ask Larry if he wants to come on and talk about this. And Larry never got back in touch, so Larry doesn't want to talk about this.
He doesn't want to invite any further visitations or whatever, right?
Right, so it's the 21st century. I know that people listening to this podcast, which is growing by leaps and bounds every episode, I assume that you're sitting at home because you were too lazy to come to actually Sisters and Scotch.
Or maybe they're just between haircuts.
No, I don't want to hear it. No excuses, people. Anyway.
Get a trim.
And you're probably going, Google, hey, Hotel Savoy, Kansas City, haunted. And you're going to see a lot of references to that Larry's room, room 505, and the person who supposedly haunts that room, Betsy Ward. But I want to be clear here, looking through the archives of numerous Kansas City newspapers over decades, I could not find a single reference to a Betsy Ward, a Beth Ward, an Elizabeth Ward, a Margaret Ward. Like, I tried every combination I could think of. There wasn't anything anywhere. And this is significant because the early newspapers, I mean, we used to have like 5 daily newspapers in this town. Mm-hmm. They would list every single person who stayed at the Hotel Savoy, one night. For instance, on Sunday, September 5th, 1897 edition of the Kansas City Times, gives you like 15 people who stayed there. So how could it be possible that a woman named Betsy Ward did not only stayed at the Hotel Savoy, but supposedly died in room 505? Why would she not have a mention? Not a single mention. All right. There's also no consensus on how she died. Some websites said she had a heart attack in that bathtub. Some say that she was murdered in that bathtub. Some say she died in her bed. Some say that she died in the early 20th century. Some say others that she died in the late 19th century. Some say that she was murdered. Some say it was natural causes. Some say she committed suicide. It runs the gamut, but not one, and I even wasted my time and sent a couple of emails to these people on these web, be like, what's your source? It's my journalism degree background.
Right.
Nothing. So it remains a mystery. Now, one other thing about room 505, there are reports of a handgun being found sealed within those walls of that room when it was renovated. Now, that I can confirm.
Oh, really?
Because the guy that I know, Sean O'Byrne, who was managing the hotel at the time, he told me on a phone call, he and I talked a few weeks ago, and he said, yes, they did indeed find a handgun that was within that wall. Yeah. They cleaned it up. It was a .38 caliber. They put it down the hotel lobby in a display case, but it was stolen. Somebody robbed and took that gun. All right? But 505 isn't the only room where people have been creeped out. Just this year, a person left a really fun review on Yelp about room 418. She talks about having visions of a little girl in a Victorian outfit named Shannon. We'll put that in the show notes. You can read Shannon. But let's say she was freaked out. There are several reports of a Victorian era girl who was supposed to be seen on the 4th floor, but again, there was no records in the archives, until I had a second drink, of any girl from any era dying at the Hotel Savoy.
Right.
Yet another mystery. There are also creepy reports on the 2nd floor by where poor Scott Crumb was murdered. People say that they feel like they are, quote-unquote, being watched in that area, and they feel kind of sick to their stomach.
So this is Crumb from Crumb in the Kitchen, right?
Yep, 1990.
Because you got to get careful of those crumbs in the kitchen.
Right. Where's the drum?
What?
I might still have it. I just have the pause. I thought I had the drum thing. Okay, anyway.
Sorry, they can't all be gold.
All right, anyway. So I took it upon myself to ask people for first-person experiences at the Hotel Savoy up on the interwebs.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. You got some responses of people. Wait, you actually put it out there. If you have been haunted at the Hotel Savoy, call Ghostbusters, and they called you. Here we go.
Exactly, right? Okay, this is from a woman named Angie. Cue your...
Angie!
There, I knew you were going to do that. Okay, quote, not sure which room I was in, but I heard music playing in the bathroom. Looked everywhere for speakers. I just figured maybe it was coming from the upper floor or something. And I went to bed, but after reading some of the things about the hotel, I was pretty sure that was not the case. All right, second, a woman named Igarza shared this, quote, after a birthday dinner at the former Savoy, my friends and I decided to go explore the top floor, which was under construction.
Right.
There was a salon or a very large suite. It was very dark in there. We walked into it, and after a few minutes, we heard a very loud noise coming from a corner within the room, and we ran out as fast as we could. But she said that could have been anything. From Nicole. When I was in high school, I heard it was haunted, so I went with a couple of friends. We had heard that someone had drowned in one of the rooms. Once again, this is the Betsy Ward story, right? So we went up to that floor, to that room, and didn't see or hear anything. They were renovating the hotel, and the side where we were on wasn't renovated yet. We didn't see anyone the whole time we were there. We had left that floor, looked around, but came back before we left. We heard running water from that room. someone supposedly had drowned in, and all three of us heard someone yell, "Help me." We went down the hall, but there was no one there. All right, but I saved the best story for last, my brother.
The best for last.
She did not want to be identified, but she did agree to jump on a Zoom call with me where she told me all about her disturbing night on Valentine's Day. I'm going to cue it up and let's listen to this conversation.
Okay, so okay, again, we're going to cue this up. This is something you've already done. So you've heard this and I have not. Let's be clear here on this. We reminded everybody, if they're just joining us in the second episode of this one, that typically the way the show works is 1 month, for example, this month, Jamie has the mystery, and he gave me a clue to what kind of cocktail to make based on just a couple of words. And then the next month, we flip places on this. So I have not heard any of this stuff. In fact, I've strenuously avoided any kind of exploration or research or anything. Precisely
Which is your MO.
Because I want to be surprised, I want to learn, I want to ask questions, and I want to make silly remarks. So I'm doing well in all of this. So okay.
As we're queuing this up, one other thing I'm going to say real quick before we started is Alex had to think long and hard. I thought he had not been to the Hotel Savoy, but it turns out he's been there several times. So there you go.
Well, by spirits. There's a reason I didn't remember I'd been there.
Memory lapse.
I had a mind eraser. It was delicious.
Or several.
Am I listening in real time? And
I'm going to put it on here. And you
no,
can
I
listen
know,
to
but
it.
am I listening and commenting or just being quiet?
I would just be quiet. It's
Okay.
spooky. I even put some spooky music to it, dude.
Well, then-
this is called production.
I'm not going to mess with production here.
All right,
I'm
all
going to
right.
tell you that right now.
All right, here we go. Tell me a little bit about your experience at the Hotel Savoy in 2007. And was that correct when it was?
That is correct. It was Valentine's Day, and my husband showed up at my office as a surprise, and he'd already coordinated with my manager and whisked me off in the afternoon to places unknown. And I really didn't know until we were just, a couple of blocks away, and then he told me. But I was unfamiliar with the building, with the hotel at that point. We'd had dinner there like in 1978 for one of his company's dinners. And so I haven't been down there in all that time. And it gave, at that point, it gave a really odd visual presentation. So that was a little bit, that caused a lot of questions, just that.
So how so?
And-
What made it an odd visual presentation? Because the building was not done, they were refurbishing it, or what was going on?
The building was not done. Turns out they weren't refurbishing it anymore, so it was just kind of in the state that it was. The front doors were pretty plain and not any, two great big doors that opened up into a dark hallway, and then you took a left through those doors into this what looked like a banquet hall. Somebody had written in a review that it looked like a Stephen King novel. And
Very romantic then.
well, it was probably a dozen tables out there on this floor, and the front windows were, these stained glass windows, so you couldn't see anything beyond that. It was just the daylight through those windows, and this odd set of shelves across the opposite wall that looked like they should hold things, but it was just random stuff like empty Lancer wine bottles and, just cluttery kind of things not meant to be anything. The man behind the desk was, gave a very dapper appearance. He was wearing a tux. An older gentleman who checked us in behind the bars. So it had kind of like a cashier's gauge. They had a set of bars, and then on the wall behind him there were children's drawings that were taped up on the wall. So, it was just a little bit different. He directed us to where we needed to go for the elevator, which was through a set of doors next to the ones that we came through. And we entered this odd elevator that looked like it was from like a 1960s Kresge's or something. And went upstairs to our floor, which was the 5th floor. And we came out, you go down this long hallway, which is the stairwell, into a hall that goes either to the right or to the left. And our room was to the right, so we turned and went immediately into what looked like an older wing. There was spackling on the walls, and the doors were older, and it, didn't look like it was any part of the refurbished part of the hotel. And it turns out on the website, they were advertising refurbished rooms, but they were also advertising suites. So my husband had selected the suite for the night. And we opened up that door, and it just, it looked like it was outfitted with a variety of pieces from Salvation Army. Saran wrapped little plate of baked items on the end table there. But the shelf, that was a glass shelf, and the shelf below was dusty and had not been touched by housekeeping. There was an air conditioner, an old air conditioner in the window. Of course, it was February 14, with old blinds, and, just really had this old tenement feel to it. But the bathroom was cool. It looked much older. It looked original. It had footed tub. It had, what appeared to be all of the original settings in there. Although it was just a narrow room that fit alongside the room lengthwise. And so we came back out in the room and sat down and looked at each other and thought, now what? Because it was just kind of an uncomfortable feeling. So we said, well, let's explore a bit. So we went out in the hallway, and John saw something on the other end of the hall. So we went through this odd thing of going through the center area, and there was all this nice carpet, and there was wallpaper on the walls, and it had a completely different look to it. And then we entered the next wing, the west wing, and we were back to the stucco-y stuff on the wall. And what he had seen was a storeroom back there that had some brass items, nothing of importance. So we talked about it and said, oh, it looks like only this centerpiece area is where they refurbished the rooms. So we went downstairs and asked if we could move to a room that was refurbished, and they obliged us. And so we went ahead and did that before we left for dinner. And it was, it was a little bit nicer, but there was still, like they had old leather wing chairs that were well used. There was a lamp in there with the lining on the inside of the lamp was torn and hanging down. So
kind of creepy,
there were just,
right?
Yeah, it wasn't, it wasn't what you would expect at a hotel when, you're checking in.
Especially for Valentine's Day. Usually, they got the chocolate, they got the champagne, they've got, right? That's usually the kind of the vibe they put they kind of, maybe for Halloween this would have been good, but maybe not so much for Valentine's Day.
It was a little bit different. So we went and had dinner and everything, and then came back to the room. And so I thought, okay, well, let me call the kids, and I'll wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day, and that you're doing this surprise for me and everything. And so while I was doing that, my husband went to the bathroom to get ready for bed, and he was in there for a while and came back and just went into bed and didn't say anything. So I thought, okay, well, I've probably taken too much time on the phone here. So I, finished up my calls and went into the bathroom and, brushing my teeth or whatever, looking around, and it had the same look as the other bathroom, so it's kind of, I don't know if marble floor, and it just had a very, turn of the century look to it. And I was looking around, it had this shower curtain, the footed tub, and all of this. And as I was looking at the tub, there was just like this instantaneous image that came in my mind and was gone. But it was an image of a body in the tub. And I saw limbs sticking up and out, arms and legs. I didn't see the head, but the person was obviously dead. And that just kind of freaked me out.
So had you ever experienced anything like this before?
No.
And have you
I had
experienced
not.
anything like it since? I mean, 2007 now, we're, 17 years ago? It's a while.
Yeah. No, not that. Not that kind of visual. Mm-mm.
How long do you think it lasted?
That image,
Mm-hmm.
it was just a split second.
Did it creep you out? I'm
It was.
guessing?
It freaked me out, yes, completely. That I just didn't know what to think of that. And yes, it freaked me out. Here I was in a hotel I'd never had to deal with, some kind of presence in a place that I wasn't familiar with.
I was
So,
just going to say, I'm going to be honest. I'm a huge scaredy cat. Like, I'm checking out. Like, did you think about checking out, or were you like, no big deal, or how did you handle it?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because my husband had taken, was being so thoughtful and had picked me up and stolen me away from work. And this was all a big surprise for Valentine's Day. And oh my goodness, it was just so sweet. And now the hotel is so weird and it has such an odd feel to it. And now I see a dead body in the bathtub.
Mhm.
And I don't feel, I'm not romantic at all at this point. So I go to bed and he's already there. And we were just silent. And I'm like, do I say anything? Do I suggest we leave? Should we go? Maybe we should get out of here. And then he spoke up and he said, I'm sorry. I just don't do very well at this booking thing. And I felt so bad because he, this was his surprise for me.
Right.
And so I was just frozen. I couldn't say anything. And I was just laying there, with my eyes wide open. We were both kind of laying there in the dark, and he's feeling very unsatisfied and unhappy with the arrangements he tried to make, and I'm just scared out of my wits. I eventually got there, but before that, I started to hear some banging, like somebody was throwing boxes around, and some yelling. So that was even scarier. I had no idea where that was coming from. There just wasn't a whole lot of people in the hotel. And, I might have seen one couple, but I'm not sure that I don't recall if I saw that there was one other couple at least until the morning, until there was breakfast time. So was feeling pretty nervous about the whole thing, and yet not sure how to bring that up to my husband. So I just laid there staring at the wall, probably for over an hour before I went to sleep.
Okay, we're back. By the way, that was she talked to me for 45 minutes, but obviously for time, thanks. But she did not tell her husband about this experience for years.
Well, that's awful, first of all, because she had a bad experience. But second of all, the husband thought it was something he did for all these years. She's staring at the wall.
Right. You think she's out of the mood, but it's because she's just scared out of her.
I'm going to tell you right now, this might explain my first marriage.
There you go.
I feel better already.
So, a few other things. Yeah, that's fair. So part of it too is let's see your initial thoughts. We'll wrap up.
Here's the thing. Okay, look, you're a scaredy cat. I'm a skeptic cat. I'm going to say that.
Okay.
Okay. I'm kind of a het cat too. No. I'm always looking to poke holes in these things, but I want to tell you a couple of things that really got my attention. Typically, when something really strikes a person, trauma is an excellent bit of sticky tape.
Mm-hmm.
And when somebody is traumatized by something, they typically remember a lot of detail. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like they can tell you what it smelled like. They can tell you what they heard. They can tell you what's going on, the time of day. Where were you when Reagan got shot? You could tell me, right?
Yeah. I was in science class, 7th grade. Mr. Gagline.
Okay.
See?
Yeah. 7th grade? Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. What's the thing? Yeah. Yeah, mine was English. Anyway, G&T. And then it was not gifted and talented, by the way. It was gin and tonic.
Okay, good.
But I'll tell you, you remember that, don't you? And
Right.
it was a minor trauma. You didn't even experience it. You were literally experiencing something that happened in a hotel room.
Right.
She had all these details
Huge amount of details.
about the furniture, about how it looked, how it felt. So that got my attention right away because it wasn't just like, yeah, we're in this room. Some stuff happened, and boom, you know. No, it was like, let me lay this out for you. Excuse me. So that got my attention. Second thing got my attention too was her feelings were evident. It's not just what she experienced, but she could tell you the emotional roller coaster she went on through the whole thing, all the way to the point where she was so paralyzed by, I don't know what to do. This is so out of the normal. I'm just going to stare at the wall in the dark.
Yeah, she's having shock.
She's in shock.
Yeah.
Boom. So that's my initial impression is that she experienced something. Now, what it was, I couldn't tell you.
Again, I don't think anybody, can tell you for certain. The thing that really stuck out to me was she wanted to talk about it, but she did not want to be, because apparently she tried to get on a board once, and she's like, there's just a bunch of crazy people. They just they go off the deep end and they say all these crazy things. She's like, I don't want to be I don't want attention to myself. I don't want. Right. So that was interesting. The other thing is, so she told me that when she finally tells her husband about this, he said, the reason why when I came back to the bathroom I didn't say anything was because I had turned off the water, but the water got turned back on, and I had no idea how that happened.
Well, faulty Russian.
So she's on the 5th floor, so we're thinking room 505, Bravo.
Right.
So she had an interesting theory, then we'll wrap up.
But yeah, go ahead. Let me hear it because I have a question, but you want to do that?
Yeah, get a question.
No, in the last episode, we did a litany of bizarre and sad, tragic deaths that happened in this one.
Right.
Is there anything that had happened? Let's assume it's 505, shall we?
Yeah.
Is there anything that I took notes, but is there anything that happened at 505 that could relate to limbs in the clawfoot tub?
No.
Okay.
That's the weirdest part. But she had an interesting theory.
I'm all ears.
She said, what if it was an illegal abortion and the lady died?
Oh, my goodness. Well,
because then it would be covered up.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be a story about it. It wouldn't be in the newspaper.
Right.
Nobody would ever know. But the fact that it's always in the tub, always the water, always the same room, always those kind of experiences makes you wonder.
Okay, I just got to chill on. You got me that. Didn't expect that. Didn't see that coming.
So would you stay in room 505?
Absolutely, I would.
Okay. Well, folks, you heard it here. Yeah. I know. My wife says, well, you don't have to worry, Kelly, because I wasn't going to do it.
Maybe next year I'll stay there for a Halloween episode.
I think you should stay there and report next month.
I'll FaceTime
directly
from the room.
I'll take the FaceTime.
I'll do it. Now, but is there a mini bar? That's my next question.
I hope there's a full bar.
Man, that's fascinating. And by the way, kudos to you, my friend. I tease you about the journalism stuff all the time, but you are an excellent interviewer, and I know that you really pulled some good stuff out of her, but it sounds to me like, though she really worked with you, she had a lot to say, but I appreciate what you pulled out of her because it's wow.
Yeah. 17 years ago, and you would think it was yesterday with all the details.
Right.
All right. So this was a spooky scare. I told you folks it was going to be spooky scare.
Spooky scary. Yeah. But where it says there's the scotch, and the only thing scary here is that, I have to drive home and I can't anymore to drink because these cocktails Wesley put together are fantastic. Yeah. It's a great location, by the way. And I'm going to have to find my way to get my hair cut here. Will I have cool hair like you if I get my hair cut here?
You didn't thrash enough. Sorry.
Oh,
sorry. Good to play guitar.
Didn't thrash enough.
Okay. So next month, what's my hint? You got a hint for me? You don't have a hint yet. We can do this in post, We're gonna
do it in post.
So this is Jamie in post. Alex got back to me. His hint is explosive emergency. Again, the hint for next month's episode is explosive emergency. Back to the regular scheduled programming.
I've been so worried about getting the live stuff together. I haven't got it together. Hey, but how about my last one with Jesse James?
People love that. It was a good one.
That one's doing well.
I do like that you got my James Gang song reference.
Dude, I always appreciate the curation. It's always.
All right, so thanks to Scissors and Scotch. Thanks to Rieger for hosting us, folks.
Our sponsor, this Scissors and Scotch host.
Yes, you're right.
And don't forget to go to don't forget to go to killingcitypod.com for the show notes and to catch up on everything we've done and will do.
So Alex says he's staying in room 505. Somebody else stay there. Let us know. Okay.
Let us know. And don't forget, we'll have more information coming episodes about our tour of Kansas City coming up, where we're going to cover a lot of these locations.
Sounds good. Until next time, people. Bye-bye.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What if comparing car insurance rates was as easy as putting on your favorite podcast? With Progressive, it is. Just visit the Progressive website to quote with all the coverages you want. You'll see Progressive's direct rate, then their tool will provide options from other companies so you can compare. All you need to do is choose the rate and coverage you like. Quote today at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.